Life is strange before the storm has finally come to an end. The story of Chloe Price was expanded through this prequel and explores her relationship with Rachael Amber and her feelings towards Max during their time apart. There have been a lot of surprises, changes, and opinions about the prequel. In this video, I'm going to discuss my feelings towards the game, what I liked and what I didn't like. Yay, opinion time! Before the Storm takes place before the original Life is Strange game, where 16-year-old Chloe is faced with the negative impact of her father's death, being alone, dealing with her new stepdad, being without Max, and ultimately being a teenager. When this game was announced, I was skeptical about it. Sure, I was excited. Life is Strange is one of my favorite games. It had a huge impact on me personally, with how I related and connected with Max and Chloe, but this prequel was made by another developer. It worried me. Would it be the same? Would they handle the characters properly? What about Rachael? Did we really need to know about her in a personal manner? I had so many questions and I ultimately expected the worst from this. Along with my list of worries, one of the biggest mysteries of the Life is Strange series was Rachael herself. We have never met her before. All we have are secondhand impressions of her from other characters, and every time we got information about her, each character had a different opinion about her. She was just like a chameleon, able to change and mesh with so many people. This is what made her a mystery, and gave so many interpretations for us to view Rachael as either a wonderful person, or this horrible girl. So when I saw Rachael was in the first trailer of Before the Storm, I was afraid. I was afraid of them making Rachael just one thing, either good or bad. I couldn't rely on what I imagined her to be anymore. Bottom line, I thought this game was going to suck. And I'll admit it, I was wrong about this game. Deck 9 actually managed to create something wonderful and placed it together so perfectly with the original game. This game handled the story fairly well. Chloe was exactly Chloe, the punk blue hair girl, but just younger. Her attitude, her mannerisms, even the situation she got into just worked out. The characters we knew were back, but there were also new characters which added more of an originality to the story. Usually with prequels or even sequels, developers tend to throw back to the other games with a million references right in your face. But Deck 9 was actually subtle about this, hinting references within the background, and items you could look at but wasn't required to. Like Chloe's nightmares and dreams were really the ones that interest me the most, with using magical elements from the original game but from afar. We all know how the story ends, but they interpreted Chloe's feelings once again. And you can take it any way you want. The story with Chloe was exactly how I wanted it to be. Knowing that Ashley Birch couldn't voice Chloe, but they had her on the writing team was an added benefit. She played Chloe, she knows Chloe, and she knows how we all feel about her. Finally seeing what she was struggling with firsthand had a bigger impact on me than seeing it through Max's eyes. They were able to convey sympathy for Chloe, even for those who particularly didn't like her or even understand why she was so angry. We could hear her thoughts and even read her journal and see how she was coping with her life. I really love the fact that she was writing to Max in those journals rather than to herself. Even though she was angry, it showed how much she missed her.
I've never understood your hard-on for cameras, Max. You took a million pictures of us, and not one of them showed that you were gonna leave when I needed you most. Fuck cameras.
Another thing I loved was the talkback gameplay mechanic. This was an amazing thing to add because not only was it fun to use, it was hilarious to see Chloe's sarcastic remarks.
Look at my face. Do I look cute? Or do I look like I'm going to kick your ass?
Of course, having multiple choice answers for the game is wonderful, but adding this into the element just spices things up to see what you can get away with or what information you can get out of the other characters. Chloe also got the graffiti option for the collectible part. I love that it reflected Chloe's younger self as she loved to draw and was an artist, and adding the whole graffiti thing just emphasized her punk lifestyle. Now let's talk about Rachael. The character I was so nervous about. She wasn't what I expected her to be, and that was okay. I ended up falling in love with Rachael's character because I could finally understand her side and her involvement with Chloe. I think pretty much everyone fell in love with her. And sure, it's on purpose because she's Rachael, but it was emulated in a way that you could feel what Chloe was feeling for her, thus coming back full circle of having Chloe as the main character. Since her story was so open-ended, all we really knew about her was that she went missing and wanted to be a model. Deck 9 could have made her story anything they wanted, and they decided to go with the family's secret storyline. I gotta admit, it was a little underwhelming for me. Sure, it was cool that I predicted it through my theory video, but I felt as if it wasn't something Rachael needed to tell her story. The added drama with Damon Merrick didn't help either. I get they wanted to include major characters like Frank, but the Damon storyline felt a little bit lazy and just thrown in together at the end for the sake of having a conversation between Chloe and Sarah. I do like that it was able to bring Chloe and Rachael together. It did make Rachael more human than this mysterious being we got from the original game. It also gave a better understanding why Chloe loved her in the first place. She became a relatable person, a girl who's trying to figure herself out. Now let's talk about the romance. Like the previous game, we had an option to have a romance between the characters and it didn't majorly affect the story itself. So when the flirting choices popped up for Chloe, I was wary of it. Would they shy away from the gay or not? Now, I'm not saying Donut did a terrible job of the gay relationship between Max and Chloe, but it was so open-ended that it didn't really confirm Max was a bisexual. As a queer person myself, I find it disheartening when the media shies away from queer storylines, relationships, or characters. It's either a stereotype or they just tease it but never confirm anything. I was pleasantly surprised by the choices and actions that can happen, and were canon I may add, about Chloe's sexuality. Right from the start, if you read Chloe's journal, she talks about having feelings for both girls and boys. Even though it wasn't confirmed if she was a lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, or sexually fluid, it still made me happy to see that developers didn't overlook the fact that Chloe Price is a queer character.
Is that convincing enough?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Right?
Finally, the ending. Aside from the choice, I believe both were fitting to the story because regardless of which you picked, it aligns with what will happen when Max returns to Arcadia Bay. The only thing that pissed me off was after the credits. Showing Chloe frantically calling Rachael as she's being held in the dark room by Mark Jefferson was completely unnecessary. We all know how Rachel's story ends. She was murdered. But it doesn't mean we need a constant reminder after the game ends, after a happy montage with Chloe. The same could be said about the bonus episode. Sure, it was sweet and a final hurrah for Max and Chloe, but showing the moment William died wasn't necessary either. You don't need to have tragedy to make a point nor convey a message or feeling. Even in the original game, we didn't see Rachael get killed, be held in the dark room, or saw the moment William died, but it still had a huge emotional impact on us. You can rely on other elements than blatantly showing that. I would have preferred the prequel just end on a happy note. I love that this game covered topics that are difficult to convey or even write about, like in mental illness, death, being a teenager, dealing with loss, and other things. But they don't always have to end in such a sad or negative way. There can be positives too. Why couldn't Before the Storm end that way? Now, do we need a prequel? In my opinion, no. Life is Strange was good as it was. Yes, it could have explained the plot holes, but considering Donut was an indie developer, I understood they were pressed for time, and in a way, I know they left a lot of things open for the player's own interpretation. It was enough for me, but I did enjoy the prequel. I love getting to know Chloe in a more personal manner, having met Rachael, the relatable feelings towards the characters, the adventure, and ultimately being back in the world of Arcadia Bay.
Rachael?
I was just thinking. Maybe I was wrong before. Who cares if the stars are dead? As long as we can still see them, that means they're real. To us. Right?
Right.
I hope you guys enjoyed this opinion video, I guess you want to call it. I would love to hear your opinions in the comments. Did you guys enjoy Before the Storm? Was it something you were looking forward to when they announced it? Did you enjoy it or did you hate it? Let me know in the comments.